Hello and welcome to podcast number 2 of the Anything and Everything podcast with R&R. I'm Gaz and my partner in crime and co-host.
Glenn, aka Bez.
Today we're going to be talking about extreme weather.
Well, to kick off this extreme weather, I think we should talk about the one that's really violent in my category is the tornado.
Yeah, I like the tornado.
A tornado, right, is one of the nature's phenomenons of how powerful they can get. I would say, yes, hurricanes are powerful, but the way these things pick things up and chuck things is unbelievable. The power in them. But, and as I go on to say, a tornado is a violently rotating column of air that is in contact with both the surface of the Earth and the cumulonimbus cloud, or, in rare cases, the base of the cumulonimbus cloud. The windstorm is often referred to as a twister, whirlwind, or cyclone. Although the word cyclone is used in meteorology to name a weather system with a low pressure area in the centre around which, from the observer looking down toward the surface of the Earth, winds blow counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern.
Do you know they've never been able to record inside of a tornado?
Yeah, because it's just too
violent.
violent to get into the centre of it.
Now, tornadoes come in many shapes and sizes, and they are often visible in the form of a condensation funnel originating from the base of a I can't even say that word, dude.
Cumulonimbus.
Yeah, you can't even say it as well.
No, cumulonimbus
Cloud. With a cloud of rotating debris, dust beneath it. Most tornadoes have wind speeds less than 110 miles per hour, which in American or European is 180 kilometers an hour. So that's about 250 feet, 80 meters across, and travel a few miles, several kilometers, before dissipating. The most extreme tornadoes can attain wind speeds of more than 300 miles per hour.
That's quick.
480 kilometers an hour. There are more than 2 miles, 3 kilometers in diameter, and stay on the ground for dozens of miles, more than 100 kilometers.
Wow, 3 kilometers, 2 miles. That is wide.
Very
That is
wide.
really wide. I think they call those ones, especially the higher ones like that, I think they called the F5s.
Yes.
Because of there's rating scales and everything with tornadoes. Like you got the F1, you got the F2, F3, all the way up to EF5, which is the strongest category, which rips buildings off their foundations and can deform large skyscrapers. The similar Toro scale ranges from T0 for extremely weak tornadoes to T11 for the most powerful known tornadoes. Doppler radar data, photogrammetry, and groundswell patterns, trochoidal marks, may also be analysed to determine the intensity and assign a rating. But many of you out there know about tornadoes and everything, but there's so much to them. Outbreaks and families, you've got funnel clouds, you've got shapes, sizes. Personally, I'd like to be a tornado chaser, to be honest, storm chaser.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. Must be quite a cracking job to run around and watching and videoing and how it all starts, and obviously the aftermath afterwards as well. So outbreaks and families. Occasionally a single storm will produce more than one tornado. Other similarities or in
simultaneously.
sorry, or in succession, multiple tornadoes produced by the same storm cell are referred to as tornado family. Several tornadoes are sometimes spawned from the same large-scale storm system. If there is no break in activity, this is considered a tornado outbreak. Although the term tornado outbreak has various definitions, a period of several successive days with tornadoes outbreaks in the same general area, spawned by multiple weather systems, is a tornado outbreak sequence, occasionally called an extended tornado outbreak.
But the word tornado comes from the Spanish word tornado, past participle of to turn or to have torn. Tornadoes' opposite phenomena are the widespread straight line derricos. From a tornado is also commonly referred to as a twister, or an old-fashioned colloquial term, cyclone. But what we're going to do through this podcast, if you're still listening, is we're going to give you at the end of the explanation of a tornado, what it is, what it does. We're going to give you top 5 worst tornadoes or worst extreme weather hits on each of these topics. So our first top 5 world's worst deadliest tornadoes. And the first is
Dulaput Satyura tornado, and that was in Bangladesh in 1989. So this was April 26th, 1989. Storm was about a mile wide and travelled 50 miles through poor areas of Dhaka, region of Bangladesh, along with the US and Canada. This is one of the countries most frequently hit by tornadoes. The death toll, estimated at 1,300, was due in large part of the shoddy construction in the slums that couldn't withstand the brute force of the twister, which ultimately left 80,000 people homeless, and more than 20 villages were levelled and 12,000 people were injured.
50 miles.
Unbelievable.
Wow. I wonder what the wind speed was if it was travelling that far.
You think, like, unfortunately for like people like that, they live in shacks.
Yeah.
Really, in parts of the country, you
Life's just torn apart.
you could probably blow it over with one breath, but with a mile wide, was it, tornado?
It was a mile wide, yeah.
That's
But then it travelled for 50
50
miles.
miles.
So how many houses and stuff did it get thrown and everything like that? The second fact is of the world's deadliest tornado is the Tri-State tornado in 1925. This is considered to be the deadliest tornado in US history. The 219-mile path it cut through Missouri, Indiana, and Illinois is also on record as the longest in the world history. The death toll from this March 18th, 1925 twister was 695, with more than 2,000 injured. Most of the deaths were in southern Illinois. The monstrous tornado was 3/4 of a mile wide. Though some reports put it at a mile wide in places, winds may have exceeded 300 miles per hour, which is 400 kilometers an hour in American terms and European terms. The twister destroyed 15,000 homes. And that's in 1925.
So the next one I've got is the Great Natchez tornado in 1840.
And this is number 3.
So this tornado struck Natchez, Mississippi on May 7th, 1840, and holds the record as the only massive tornado in the US to have killed more people than it injured. Death toll was at least 317, with the majority of the casualties on flatboats sunk along the Mississippi River. The loss of life was likely greater because the deaths of enslaved people would not have been counted in this era. There is no telling how widespread has been the ruin. Wrote the Free Trader across the river in Louisiana. Reports have come in from plantations 20 miles distance in Louisiana, and the range of tempest was terrible. Hundreds of slaves killed, dwellings swept like chaff from their foundations, the forest uprooted, and the crops beaten down and destroyed.
So you think about how many slaves actually died and not been reported on how they died.
Yeah. So that number that we said, 317 died, that could possibly be double.
Or even more.
Or, yeah.
Even more. And number 4 is the East St. Louis tornado in 1896. This tornado hit May 27th, 1896, striking the major city of St. Louis, Missouri, and neighboring East St. Louis, Illinois. Across the Mississippi River, at least 255 people died, but the toll may have been higher, as people on the boats might have washed down the river, which we were talking about, the slaves and stuff.
Yeah.
It's the only tornado on this list to be considered a Category 4 instead of the most powerful F5. Less than a month later, the city hosted the 1896 Republican National Convention, where William McKinley was nominated before being elected the 25th President of the United States.
Now, what are we on now? Number 5?
Number 5.
So, number 5, we got the Tupelo tornado, 1936. Now, this tornado struck Tupelo, Mississippi, again, on April 5th, 1936, killing 233 people. Among the survivors were a young Elvis Presley and his mother. Official records at the time didn't include black people, and the twister heavily damaged black neighbourhoods, so the toll was likely higher in total. 48 city blocks were destroyed. It was an especially deadly storm year, as the next night a tornado swept through Gainesville, Georgia, killing 203, but the death toll could have been higher again, as many buildings collapsed and fires were erupted from it.
That's really intriguing, because I'm a massive Elvis fan, and it's not a sort of fact that you read about Elvis every now and again. It's because Elvis was born in I think it was 1935.
Yeah.
And he would have been what?
A year old? Under?
No, just under a year old, because his birthday is in August. No, he would have been just over a year old, because his birthday was in January. So, but what annoys me is how back then how black people was treated.
Yeah.
Not being horrible. It's just my personal opinion. Is that it says here that black people official records was not including black people or the heavily damaged black neighbourhoods. It's like they never existed. But in my case, that is extremely wrong. Every life should be counted for.
Yes.
Red, white, black, blue, whoever. It doesn't matter what you are, what race you are. You should always be included in something that traumatic if it happened. But less of that.
Carrying on with the tornadoes, I'm not going to go and visit Mississippi or Illinois during April, May and June, because it looks like that's when the tornadoes happen.
Yeah, it does.
So I'll be staying away from there.
Right, so we move on to lightning. everyone knows about lightning, but we're just going to give a little what about lightning and everything like that. And also, we're going to give you a top 5 worst lightning strikes.
So, lightning is naturally occurring electrostatic discharge, during which two electrically charged regions, both in the atmosphere or with one on the ground, temporarily equalizing themselves, causing the instantaneous release as much as 1 gigajoule of energy. This discharge may produce a wide range of electromagnetic radiation, from heat created by the rapid movement of electrons to brilliantly flashes of visible light in the form of black body radiation. Lightning causes thunder, a sound from the shock wave which develops as gases in the vicinity of the discharge, experiencing a sudden increase of pressure. Lightning occurs commonly during thunderstorms as well as other types of energetic weather systems. But volcanic lightning can also occur during volcanic eruptions.
The 3 main kinds of lightning are distinguished by where they occur, either inside a single thundercloud, between 2 different clouds, or between a cloud and the ground. Many other observational variants are recognized, including heat lightning, which can be seen from the great distance but not heard, dry lightning, which can cause forest fires, and ball lightning, which is rarely observed scientifically. Humans have defied lightning for millennia. Idiomatic expressions derived from lightning, such as English expression "bolt out from the blue," are common across languages. The fear of lightning is called astrophobia.
Now, I love watching lightning and thunder. In the past, I've been down the beach and sat down the beach and watched it. I'm fascinated by it, but my partner, she's petrified of it. And obviously, pet dogs and cats, they can be scared of it. We've known dogs to hide behind a sofa when it's happened.
But saying that, dogs can sense a lot of things before a human can, of how many miles away. And saying that about your partner, my partner too, she hates thunderstorms. She cannot stay in the same on a room in her own when the thunder's going on. She's got to be near me. It's horrible.
You've also got the old wives' tale of, if you count how from the lightning to the time of the thunder is how far away it is as well. I don't know how true that is or not.
But there's also ones that you can get is an electric thunderstorm, which is just lightning, no thunder. Recently, we had one in the UK about last year, I think, and it was fantastic. It was just lightning strike upon lightning strike with no thunder at all. But, and you can get positive and negative lightning, cloud to cloud, and intra-cloud, cloud to the ground. And you can get a return stroke or a restrike in the same position. And you also know if you're going to get hit by it by the friction on your hair.
Yeah. And obviously, it's been known for fishermen, golfers to be struck by lightning. I wouldn't be wanting to go around with a fishing rod if there was a lightning storm, or playing golf with a metal object in my hand. Anyway, should we do the top 5 worst lightning?
Yeah, we get to that.
So see where they are. Top.
Right.
What you found them, mate?
I found that. Also, hang on. I have found this. That the highest death toll from a lightning strike is on 24th of December 1971. The highest death toll from a disaster caused by a fatal lightning strike is 91 people. all of whom died when Peruvian airline Lanza Flight 508 was struck and crashed into the Amazon rainforest on the 24th of December 1971.
Not being horrible though, mate. What a bad Christmas they're going to have, because that was Christmas Eve.
Yeah, that's horrible.
So, what have we got? Okay. No, should we go from number 1 down or number 5? Let's go.
Let's go 5 to 1, shall we? This time.
Okay, so we've got number 5. 33 people zapped by lightning strike at a music festival. So, 2 lightning strikes hit the 2015 Rock AM Ring Festival in the town of Mendig. 8 people were production teams were injured when the first strike hit the backstage area. Organisers later halted the concert and offered visitors shelter in lightning-proof tents. Shortly before 4 a.m, lightning hit the festival's camping area and another 25 people were injured. All of those injured had been taken to hospital for observation and were in good health. None suffered a direct hit by lightning.
Right, that takes us to number 4. 19 cows killed in lightning strike as they shelter under tree. That's a bad place to be, but animals always go to trees for shelter. A single bolt of lightning struck a tree was all it took to kill 19 cows who were sheltering during a storm in August 2016 in Hallsville, Texas. Their owner, Ashley Anderson, said she and her husband had never seen anything like it and called it a freak accident. That's got to be some power, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's got to be some electric power.
Okay, so now we're going to go to number 3. Lightning strike kills an entire soccer team. Wow.
Wow, that's bad.
So in 1998, all 11 members of a football team were killed by a bolt of lightning, which left the other team unhurt. 30 more people received burns at the match in Democratic Republic of Congo. Locals, known to believe in charms and spells, were divided over whether someone had cursed the team. The two sides were drawing 1-1 in the match in Eastern Kasai province when the lightning struck the visiting team. The athletes from the home team, Bashanga, came out of the catastrophe unscathed. Unreal.
That's mental. That is mental. But on a pitch, you have 22 people. Yeah? Not including the ref.
Yeah.
And 11 of those members got killed, but the other 11 didn't.
So, next to you then, mate. Let's have a look at number 2.
Right, let's move on to number 2. 300 people dead in one of the most deadly lightning strikes in history. On June 16th, 1807, lightning hit a gunpowder factory in the small European country of Luxembourg and killed more than 300 people. The disaster is one of the most deadly lightning strikes in history. Last year, when this was published, Luxembourg was occupied by Napoleon's army. Not last year, that year. I need to get some new glasses, I think.
Specsavers can sponsor.
Yeah, that year Luxembourg was occupied by Napoleon's army. The French dictator used a small country to stockpile weapons and ammunition. Many underground bunkers were built for this purpose in Kitzbühel. A fortress built in 1732 was used as an armory. When lightning struck it, the ammunition housed within ignited on contact, causing a massive explosion. 2 entire city blocks were thoroughly razed by the blast. Blooming hell. Which caused several other fires to rage nearby. The London Times later reported this city has been plunged into the greatest consternation and distress.
Okay, so number 1 for lightning strikes. It's quite a good one actually. So 323 reindeer killed in Norway. Lightning killed more than 300 wild reindeer in central Norway in August 2016. Norwegian Environment Agency released eerie images showing a jumble of reindeer carcasses scattered across a small area on the Angavida mountain. If I've said that wrong, I do apologise. Plateau. The agency says 323 animals were killed, including 70 calves, in a lightning storm. It's not uncommon for reindeer or other wildlife to be killed by lightning strikes, but this was an unusually deadly event. Reindeer tend to stay very close to each other in bad weather, which could explain how so many were killed in one strike.
That's crazy. How much power that Mother Nature really has. It's just like a woman scorned, I think, mate.
Yes. So, okay, what we're going to do next then? What's the next one?
Shall we move on to tsunamis?
Tsunamis.
Or would you like to do... Yeah, let's do tsunamis.
Okay. Obviously, people know what a tsunami is. So, a tsunami, from a Japanese harbour wave, pronounced tsunami. I can't even say it. Anyway, it's a series of waves in a water body caused by the displacement of large volume of water, generally in an ocean or large lake. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and other underwater explosions, including detonations, landslides, glacier calvings, meteorite impacts, and other disturbances, above or below water, all have the potential to generate a tsunami. Unlike normal ocean waves, which are generated by wind, or tides, which are generated by the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun, a tsunami is generated by the displacement of water by a large event.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest fears is a large water like that. But the tsunami waves do not resemble normal undersea currents or sea waves because their wavelength is far longer. Rather than appearing as a breaking wave, a tsunami may instead initially resemble a rapidly rising tide. For this reason, it is often referred to as a tidal wave. Although this usage is not favoured by the scientific community, but it might give the false impression of a casual relationship between tides and tsunamis. Tsunamis generally consist of a series of waves, with periods ranging from minutes to hours, arriving in so-called wave train. Wave heights of tens of meters can be generated by large events, although the impact of tsunamis is limited to coastal areas. The destructive power can be enormous, and they can affect entire ocean basins. The 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami was among the deadliest natural disasters in human history, with at least 230,000 people killed or missing in 14 countries bordering the Indian Ocean. That's crazy.
So, the ancient Greek historian, now this is going to be a good one, Thucydides suggested in the 5th century BC history of the Peloponnesian War that tsunamis were related to submarine earthquakes. That's quite cool, actually.
Yeah, that is it's quite intriguing.
So, but the understanding of a tsunami remained slim until the 20th century, and much remains unknown. Major areas of current research include determining why some large earthquakes do not generate tsunamis while other small ones do. This ongoing research is designed to help accurately forecast the passage of tsunamis across the oceans, as well as how tsunami waves interact with shorelines. So we're going to do the 5 worst tsunami incidents.
In modern history. And we're going to start with number 5. So, let's start with number 5. The Sunda Strait tsunami in 2018. The Sunda Strait tsunami occurred on December 23rd, 2018. This is the third major tsunami to originate in this in the area. I've been misses on my mind. The first being in 1883 and the second in 2004. This tsunami came with no warning, even though the area previously endured 2 of the worst tsunamis in modern history. At least 373 people died, with reports of hundreds or more missing, and displacement of almost 2,000 people. While the rest on this list dwarfs this number, what makes this tsunami one of the worst is the fact that the death toll could have been less had people put their proper preparations in place. People only found out that volcanic activity by Anak Krakatoa caused the tsunami after the fact. However, the tsunami warning system was flawed, as its design was only to detect seismic activity, not volcanic, which allowed for this tsunami to become by surprise. Wow. That's quite shocking that they didn't really prepare themselves.
Okay, so number 4 is the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in 2011. One of the worst disasters in Japanese history is the earthquake and tsunami that struck the Tohoku region in Japan on March 11th, 2011. The earthquake had a magnitude of 9.0 and a series of waves followed, reaching as high as 132 feet.
Can I stop you just there? Think of Richter scales, that's near enough a 10. And also 132 feet. Blows my mind.
So, this disaster claimed over 15,500 lives and left more than 450,000 people homeless. The damage to the infrastructure from this event were far greater than any other tsunami in modern history. People estimated that the material losses were, right, ready? 300 billion. And the tsunami also resulted in a level 7 nuclear meltdown and release of radioactive materials at the Fukushima Daiichi power plant. 6 million Japanese households were without electricity and 1 million were without running water. About 270,000 people had to evacuate due to the nuclear emergency. While the cleanup was still going on, the radiation levels dropped faster than people expected, and people deemed some areas to be habitable again. So, yeah, that was number 4.
Let's move on to number 3. The Valdivia earthquake and tsunami in 1960. The most powerful earthquake in recorded history occurred on May 22nd, 1960, off the southern coast of Chile. The 9.5 magnitude earthquake.
9.5. You think just a minute ago the Tohoku one was a 9. So we're going 0.5 more on this one.
Yeah, it's big.
That is madness.
The 9.5 magnitude earthquake arrived with a Pacific wind tsunami with waves as high as 80 feet. The earthquake and tsunami claimed 1,655 lives, injured 3,000 and left 2 million homeless in Chile. The tsunami swept across the ocean, resulting in millions of dollars in damages in Hawaii and killing people in Japan and the Philippines. Estimates determined damages in Chile alone to be about 550 million. Wow. This disaster is significant because it was the largest earthquake ever recorded and caused the first global tsunami. This tsunami left no corner of the Pacific Ocean untouched, leaving devastation in its wake, making it one of the 5 worst tsunamis in modern history. That's just blowing me mind. It's just so much power. Mother Nature has so much power.
Okay, so I'm on for number 2 now. The Messina earthquake. Now, if I've said that wrong, I do apologise. And tsunami. Now, this was in 1908. Southern Italy suffered devastation from both an earthquake and a tsunami in the early morning of December 28th in 1908. Now, the magnitude of this one was 7.5, and the tsunami almost completely destroyed Messina. Several coastal towns in both Italy and Sicily. This disaster claimed at least 80,000 lives and forced thousands more to flee. Even 100 years later, scientists still struggle with the origins of the earthquake and the tsunami. A recent study in 2019 has finally found the fault responsible for the earthquake was in the Mediterranean. The combined force of the earthquake and the tsunami makes this disaster one of 5 worst tsunamis in modern history. So I'm leaving you with number 1 then, mate.
Yeah, I'll take that. Number 1 is the Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004. We previously mentioned this. On the morning of December 26th, 2004, an underwater earthquake with a magnitude of 9.1 triggered a massive tsunami that swept across the Indian Ocean. The tsunami first struck Indonesia, followed by Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, South Africa, and 11 other countries in a matter of hours, with some waves ascending over 100 feet. You get that, 100 feet is... This tsunami has the highest recorded death toll with 230,000 lives. Estimates determined that the material losses from this immense destruction were about 10 billion. There was also long-term environmental damage, displacing hundreds of thousands of people as the tsunami destroyed villages, resorts, farmland and fishing grounds. Prior to this tsunami, there were no proper preparations and communication strategies in the Indian Ocean for these types of disasters. Since then, scientists have prioritized improving the understanding of tsunamis and altered the way research and preparations are conducted. Over the 5 worst tsunamis, this one is the deadliest of them all. That's just really shocking that the amount of money in these worlds and these governments and everything have, they just can't put things into preparation for these poor people.
I remember this one quite clearly. My oldest daughter, she was born in June, so she was 6 months old. So 17 years ago. And I remember watching this on the news. You think it's Boxing Day. So you've just had Christmas and then it's ruined. So that was tsunamis. What we're going to do next then, mate?
Well, shall we move on to avalanches? Let's cover avalanches, shall we? Because the avalanches are just out this world.
Yeah, if you're a snowboarder or a skier, because you've got them crazy guys that do all the snowboarding, don't they?
Yeah, it's I'd hate to be buried under snow. I hate being cold at most of the times. But like we said before, you all know about avalanches, but we're just going to give you a little insight to things, and then we're going to give you our top 5 worst avalanches. An avalanche, also called a snowslide, is a rapid flow of snow down a slope. such as a hill or a mountain. Avalanches can be set off spontaneously by such factors as increased precipitation or a snowpack weakening, or by external means such as humans, animals, and earthquakes. Primarily composed of flowing snow and air, large avalanches have the capability to capture and move ice, rocks, and trees. Avalanches occur in two general forms, or combinations thereof: slab avalanches made of tightly packed snow, triggered by a collapse of an underlying weak snow layer. The loose snow avalanches made by looser snow. After being set off, avalanches usually accelerate rapidly and grow in mass and volume as they capture more and more snow. If an avalanche moves fast enough, some of the snow may mix with the air, forming a powder snow avalanche.
I don't know if I saw it on telly or something, though, mate. I'm sure there's avalanche watchers. They have like telescopes, and they set off like rockets or something and then fire things off. I don't know if I saw that.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen that too. They do like calculations of the snow, how deep, how loose, how compacted it is. But yes, at least that's happening.
Yeah. Anyway, so they appear to share similarities. Avalanches are distinct from slush flows, mudslides, rock slides, and Serac collapses. Serac collapses. They are also different from large-scale movements of ice. Avalanches can happen in any mountain range that has an enduring snowpack. Excuse me. They are most frequent in winter or spring, but many occur at any time of the year in mountainous areas. Avalanches are among the most serious natural hazards to life and property. So great efforts are made in avalanche control. Yeah, like I was saying. There are many classification systems for different forms of avalanches, which vary according to their users' needs. Avalanches can be described by their size, destructive potential, initiation mechanism, composition, and dynamics. So you got slab avalanche. I've lost the plot. Slab avalanche. I've gone. What's going on? Avalanches. I'm so sorry. So you got a slab avalanches, powder snow avalanches. So you got the wet snow, iced avalanches, avalanche pathway, and obviously it's been known to kill. So should we do the 5 most worst avalanches, my friend?
Yep. Let's crack on with your top 5 worst avalanches ever recorded. And we're going to start off with number 5. The Winter of Terror, which is Australia-Switzerland border.
It's not Australia, mate. It's Austria.
That's the one. Sorry, it's been a long day today. In the winter of 1950-1951, the Alps of Europe received atypical weather conditions that brought a higher than average amount of snow. At one point, almost 15 feet of snow fell in a 3-day span.
Wow.
The meeting of the Atlantic warm front and the polar cold front mixed with severe winds resulted in extreme avalanche conditions over the course of a season. In just 3 months span, 649 avalanches were recorded, which resulted in the deaths of over 265 people in the area. Additionally, Switzerland reported upwards of 500 cattle deaths and 900 buildings being destroyed.
Wow. Okay, so we're going to go to to number 4 now. So number 4 is the 2015 Panjshir avalanches, Afghanistan. So in February 2015, over the course of just a 4-day span, at least 310 Afghans died due to the lethal series of avalanches. The Panjshir province of Afghanistan is home to extremely mountainous and rocky terrain. And reportedly, too much snow was falling for the mountains to hold. Around 1,000 Afghan soldiers were sent to the area to help with the search and rescue efforts. Roads were blocked, cars were stuck, power wasn't passing through, and around 100 homes were destroyed. The 2015 Afghanistan avalanches are some of the worst ever recorded, by far the worst that the country has ever seen.
That's quite a thing, because I always think of Afghanistan as a hot country, which it is. But I don't really think of the mountains that have got the thing on. But anyway, on to number 3, the Huascaran slide in 1962, Peru. Sitting in the Andes at 22,205 feet above sea level, Huascaran is one of the tallest mountains in the world. On January the 10th, 1962, a massive glacier weighing 6 million tons slid off the Huascaran and travelled for around 9 miles. The towns of Ranrachica and Huascucho were buried under 40 feet of ice, mud, trees, boulders and other debris. And 4,000 people reported to have lost their life, with only a few people lucky enough to survive. 10,000 animals were killed, millions of dollars of agriculture were lost, and several surrounding towns began to flood because of the blocked off rivers. That's crazy.
Did it 6 million tons? I can't imagine.
That's like about 3 or 4 ships on top of each other.
Yeah, what was the weight of a Titanic? You imagine that? Anyway, so we're on to number 2, White Friday, and this was Italy. In 1916, World War I was reaching peak intensity, and barracks were being built on Mount Marmolada. Now, if there's any Italians out there, I do apologise. To the station, the Austro-Hungarian Kaiserschunsten come wintertime. Heavy snowfall mixed with rising temperatures created perfect avalanches conditions in the Italian Dolomites. On December 13th, 1916, 200,000 tons of snow, rock and ice plunged down the mountain directly onto the barracks. Only a few hundred soldiers were killed from the incident specifically, but on the same day and over the next few days, countless avalanches slid. It is widely suggested that soldiers intentionally shot at the mountainside to create avalanches as weapons. But there is little evidence to support this claim. As more avalanches occurred, the death count increased, and it is estimated that there was around 9,000 to 10,000 total casualties from the series of slides. So it's around 1% of the total deaths accounted for World War One.
I like the way they say only a few hundred soldiers were killed. That's a lot of soldiers. And then they say around 9,000, 10,000 casualties. That's a lot of people's lives being lost.
And that's not even probably firing a bullet at each other during World War One. That's just natural causes.
Right, we're down to number 1 finally. And it's Huascaran Slide of 1970. Different year in Peru. An undersea earthquake referred as the Ancash caused the deadliest avalanche ever recorded in Earth's history. And Earth is how many billion years old?
Yeah.
This avalanche also slid from Huracan in Peru, but it had much more devastating impact this time. Estimates range from 22,000 to 70,000 Peruvian deaths, and more than 10 villages were destroyed. Occurring on May 31st, 1970, the earthquake not only caused a glacier and snowfield to release, but the avalanche picked up large volumes of loose dirt, rock, and surface water, which created the effect of a mudslide. The debris moved at a top speed of 100 miles per hour and travelled for around 100 miles. In a report released by the United States, officials stated that such an event might not occur again in the thousands of years.
Well, we've got a bit of time, so what's that? 40. It's nearly 50 odd years ago, isn't it? So we've got another 50 years to go on that one. Well, I won't be travelling to Peru, that's for sure.
I won't be travelling to Peru either.
Anyway, so that was extreme weathers. As we normally say. Oh, well, we've got another one.
We've got one more.
Oh, okay. What have we got here? Atlantic hurricane. Go on then, mate.
An Atlantic hurricane, which we're going to wrap up in a minute, or a tropical storm is a tropical cyclone that forms in the Atlantic Ocean and primarily between the months of June and November. And at the moment, at present time, it's hurricane season in the United States, and I wish everyone to be safe and prepare and hope you get through it. And I'm going to carry on. And a hurricane differs from a cyclone to a typhoon only on the basis of location. A hurricane is a storm that occurs in the Atlantic Ocean and northeastern Pacific Ocean. A typhoon occurs in the northwestern Pacific Ocean. A cyclone often occurs in the South Pacific Ocean or Indian Ocean. Tropical cyclones can be categorized by intensity. Tropical storms have 1 minute maximum sustained winds of at least 39 miles per hour, which is 34 knots, 17 miles, is that miles a second?
Yeah.
And 63 kilometers an hour. While hurricanes have 1 minute maximum sustained winds exceeding 74 miles per hour, which is 64 knots, 33 miles a second, and 119 kilometers an hour. Most northern Atlantic tropical storms and hurricanes from between June the 1st and November 30th. The United States National Hurricane Center monitors this basin and issues reports, watches and warnings about tropical weather systems for the North Atlantic Basin as one of the regional specialized meteorological centers for tropical cyclones, as defined by the World Meteorological Organization. I know a lot of you know about this, but we're just going to give you insights to them.
So, in recent times, tropical disturbances that reach tropical storm intensity are named from a predetermined list. Hurricanes that result in significant damage or casualties may have their names retired from the list at the request of the affected nations in order to prevent confusion should a subsequent storm be given the same name. On average, in the North Atlantic basin from 1966 to 2009, 11.3 named storms occurred each season, with an average of 6.2 becoming hurricanes and 2.3 becoming major hurricanes, category 3 or greater. The climatological peak of activity is around September 10th each season. In March 2004, Katrina, which is probably one of the most famous tropical cyclones, to be recorded in the southern Atlantic Ocean since 2011, the Brazilian Navy Hydrographic Center has started to use the same scale as the North Atlantic Ocean for tropical cyclones in the South Atlantic Ocean, and assign names to those which reach 35 What is that?
Knots.
Knots. 65 kilometres an hour or 40 miles an hour.
That's like I said, it's just crazy on Mother Nature how bad she can be if you don't treat this planet well. Right, and we're going to give you the last 5 worst hurricanes in history before we leave. So, like we said, we're going to start from number 5. And number 5 was Hurricane Sandy in 2012. Hurricane Sandy was one more recent hurricane. This hurricane formed in October of 2012 and impacted Jamaica and parts of the northeast like New Jersey and New York. This was very frightening for northerners because most of them are not used to hurricanes impacting them. Even though Hurricane Sandy was only a Category 3 hurricane, she left $75 billion in damages. Luckily, we did not lose many people in Hurricane Sandy compared to the other hurricanes. I think they had a concert for Hurricane Sandy, I think.
Yeah, I think there was a concert. So, we've gone to number 4. Hurricane Katrina, 2005. Hurricane Katrina is one of the most well-known hurricanes. Katrina hit in 2005 and was the costliest hurricane in US history. Katrina did $108 billion in damages and left thousands homeless. Rainfall was heavy and left about 80% of the state flooded due to rain and storm surges. Almost 900,000 people were left without power in Louisiana, and unfortunately 1,245 lives were lost. And I believe the Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana, you can still see the derelict buildings and what have you.
Yeah, the damage is just so bad. And number 3, the Labor Day Hurricane, 1935. In 1935, an intense hurricane hit the Western Hemisphere. The Labor Day hurricane reached a Category 5 rating and caused winds to move about 180 miles per hour. While it may not have been the worst hurricane, it definitely caused a lot of damage to homes. That's quite fast, that is 180.
Yep, I agree. So we've gone to number 2, the Okeechobee Hurricane in 1928. The Okeechobee Hurricane was one of the deadliest hurricanes to hit Florida. The storm caused $100 million in damages and left thousands dead. Homes were destroyed, and the Okeechobee Hurricane left 500,000 people homeless. This was a Category 4 hurricane, and winds blew about 160 miles an hour. Now, if you think 1928, that's unreal. Anyway, so we're on to the last one, my friend.
The Galveston Hurricane, 1990. On September the 8th, 1990, the Great Galveston Hurricane hit Texas. This hurricane was classified as a Category 4 hurricane and killed over 10,000 people. The Great Galveston Hurricane was the deadliest hurricane in US history. Winds were blowing 145 miles per hour and did a lot of damage to Texas. And in this picture, it's absolutely devastating. It really is. But that's all we've got time for today, and everything. And as we always say, but if there is anything you would like us to discuss, talk about, topics, just put it down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell. And that, so.
And please help us. This is new for us. And as we both say, peace, love, and be lucky. Thank you.
Many thanks. See you later.
Bye-bye.